Hi everybody, it's Alex. So I got new brakes for my GT Aggressor Pro. I'm going to go ahead and unbox these guys, throw them on the bike, and then see how they perform. I don't know if I'll be able to go to ride today. I want to. I'm fucking dying to. I have all weekend because I just got new tires for it. But as things, the boxes, the bag that they're in, it's a very strong bag. As the weather has been here the last couple of days, it's been unbelievably windy, at least 30 miles an hour a day. And, riding in that kind of wind is kind of... Now, these will replace both the front and rear, and these are hydraulics. I actually bought a bleed kit for these guys just a few days ago. Where's my trash can? There it is. And really, what's got me the most excited about these is this is going to be a mechanical to hydraulic conversion. So I will no longer have the mechanical brakes on my old bike. And honestly, I always found the mechanical brakes to be more than adequate. They never really failed on me. I just wanted to try something different and see how much better these hydraulics will be than the ones that I was previously using. So let's open these mofos up. Where's my knife? Not there. Knife quest. Oh, there it is. So I know one thing right away. I got international style brakes, so I'll need to swap the left and right positions, which is why I bought the bleed kit, was just in case this didn't work out. And I've had a lot of people say that these Zoom brakes need a little bit of love to make them work correctly, that they'll die after a little while. But as far as I shouldn't say die, that's not the right word, that they will, that they'll get junky. The brake lines will get junky. And honestly, these look really nice. They feel super premium. They don't feel cheap at all. Just kind of pulling on them right away, and they hit the spacer there for the travel spacer. Right away, I can feel that they grip well. So this is I believe this is the front brake. So I'm gonna throw this on. This can't be the right side. Oh, I'd love it if I didn't have to swap these around. If I had to swap them around, the first thing I'd have to do is, and I've not done this, so if I'm wrong with this, then I guess we'll find out, is pull off this cover here, and then underneath there's a bolt. I'd unscrew that. I basically hold the brake level, and then I'd make sure everything is underneath the caliper itself. So this way, this will be level. The brake lever will be level, and then this will stay here, and then I'll just pop that on there. But let's have a look at the, what do you call that then? Rear brake. Have a look at this guy, see what we got in this box. It looks like the only thing in here is just basically two bolts. I have 160s on my bike right now, mainly because I'm about 260 pounds. And it's rare that I'm going and like fucking bombing downhill or anything like that. So I'm not too worried about that. But I imagine for you lighter types, you probably want to consider that. Oh yeah, this is definitely the drive side. I'm sorry, not the drive side, the front brake, and that is definitely left and right. So what I'll do is exactly what was suggested to me, and before I even put these on, I'm going to mount the handle, and they're definitely pre-bled. You can tell how little, that's, even at the end of that, that's less than a centimeter. So I'm going to, before I even get them on the bike, I'll put the actual lever on the bike, just this way I can make sure it stays level. And then I will switch these two cables around, so this way my front's my rear and my rear is my front. So let's go ahead and we'll get that done right now. So apparently I forgot to hit record. I'm a dumbass. Here's what I did. I pulled off one of the old brake levers, this guy right here, and then in order to swap these two brake lines, I wanted to make sure that the calipers and the cables were both underneath the brakes and they were sitting at least relatively flat. So I just temporarily mounted the two brakes to one side of the handlebar so this way I can get the brake line swapped, and I'll go ahead and get that recorded and you guys can see exactly what that process is going to look like. It's not interesting. This process is actually way more straightforward than I think most people realize. It literally is just undoing those two bolts which secure the lines to the actual brake levers themselves. Once you've got those undone, it's pretty easy. You unscrew them, and you can see me doing that right there. You'll pull off each side. I'm going to make sure to hold the ends of these cables up so this way I don't lose any oil and get an oily floor, because that's what the kitchen is for, or the floor in like a strip club or like an 80s oil wrestling thing. And you can see that's all there is to them, is just those little copper ends with those gaskets on there, and all you do is just put that left connector into the right connector, and then put that right connector into the left connector. It is no more complicated than that. These guys used I think it was 8mm wrench, and I just tightened them down because I'm not a dork, so I don't torque wrench, but I could if I wanted to. I'm sure it's highly recommended, but of course, because these are weird Chinese brakes, they don't have any torque specs. So my suggestion is as tight as you can get them without them being too overly tight. Anything more than that is probably overdoing it. You don't want to damage something like that, especially when you're talking about stuff like hydraulics, because the last thing you want to do is take a leak in the field. Okay, so this part's pretty straightforward. I just gotta unmount the old bits, and then I gotta throw the new brakes on. So let me go ahead and get started on that. So this is a pretty straightforward process. As you can see, I pulled my saddlebag off, and Newt loved that. I undo the zip ties on there. There's also some old connector clasps that didn't break at some point. That one was giving me a little bit of problems because of a crash that I had at some point. But once all those old zip ties are done, all you do is undo the two bolts that hold the brake into place on the frame, and then you just pop that guy off, and all it's going to come off in one shot. Get your longer brake cable, and since I have an extra large body, I have an extra large frame, so I don't have to do any trimming to these cables, and all I'm going to do is unloosen, I guess that's a word, I guess unloosen would be tightening, but unloosen or tighten or loosen those brakes, plug those into the rear part of the frame where the old brakes were. Once they're saddled around the frame themselves, I'm going to use the brakes to clamp down on the rotor, and then just like that, my brakes should be aligned and centered and pretty much ready to go. This process maybe took me 5 minutes, and as you can see, I'm already putting just some of the zip ties back in, just to make sure that everything is nice and tight and in place. But I do want to make sure I have enough slack for the turning radius of the actual handlebars and fork. So why did I just shoot my force midstream there? I realized that I could have the brake cable on the outside of the frame, but that probably wasn't too smart. So I just went ahead and switch the sides so this way it's on the inside of the frame instead of the outside, so this way I don't, cut a brake line or something, because that sounds dumb and dangerous. Hilarious, but dumb and dangerous. I just got my vital shipment of cat stickers. Very important that I get those. Alright, anyway, let's proceed.
The process of installing the front brakes is just as complicated as installing the rear brakes. You pull off the old ones, you grab the new ones, you drop them down, you route them how you want. I initially went inside, but I found that it was binding too much on the handlebars, I guess because the cables weren't long enough, I don't know, but I just found that it was binding too much. So I went ahead and then I went outside with them, but you don't see that in this video. But the process is the same. You undo 2 bolts, you undo a couple of things on the new brakes, and then you mount those new brakes down. You give them you tighten them down a little bit, and then you give them a couple of quick squeezes. That will generally center these, but I did have to give them a little thwacking after I got them installed to get them 100% centered. So I was gonna bleed those brakes, and then I realized that I didn't have any brake fluid, so I won't be able to do it before I go and ride. And honestly, I mean, they're still pretty good. They're not spongy, at least as far as I can tell. They feel really great on both sides. I'll still bleed them. I'll do them later today. Maybe I'll make a special video for that. But right now, I'm just going to go ahead and get the cockpit set up and move on from there. So this is all pretty well and good. All I'm doing here is just making sure that the brakes are centered, that my handlebar grips are where I want them to be, and that everything still feels good. I tend to set my handlebars up a little weird, at least I think so. One of the tricks that I have learned over the years is not to over tighten your brake levers, because when you do, if you crash, all you're going to do is bend your brake levers. So it gives you a little bit of adjustment on the fly if you just want to kind of knock them down. If you find they're not in a good position, then you can do that. These Zoom brakes have double bolts, so just make sure that you've got equal pressure on both of those bolts. But yeah, if you crash, you don't wreck your handlebars by putting them on super tight. So, I'm pretty sure I'm all done here. I'm going to give you guys a little walk around. These are the new Zoom brakes, and you can see the old guys on the floor. And I usually leave a little bit of a gap there, just because I've got such big hands. If I put them right over there, everything feels cluttered, which is why I got those big Ori grips on there. So this way I can grab them with 1 or 2 fingers when I need to. And this should be the front brake, which was originally the rear brake. We'll go down here, have a look at that guy. I've got it routed through. And then we've got that right there. So let's go back up, have a look at the rear. And there's that. Like I said, there's a little bit of play, but no sponginess. And I will bleed that as soon as I get some brake fluid. So I'm going to go around here, and I've got to get 2 zip ties to get that mounted to the frame. And then you can see my correction here that I made where I went where I went in instead of over, because I was really worried about getting that scraped on something if I fell. And then we have a look at that rear brake, and that looks great. What does that say? No regulatory function. Do not lose it. Well, I guess that is as good advice as you can get on anything like this. So this is it. I'm going to give it a quick test ride, and then I'll come back and I'll let you guys have a look at some of that. So, initially, how do I feel about these brakes? They're pretty nice, I can't lie. Really smooth modulation. And I'm running 160 rotors on here, and they feel smooth, like there's no noise or chatter, at least anything that I can detect. And I think that's what kind of blows my mind, is that they are so accurate. Like, I'm hitting some downhills at about 15 miles an hour and I'm stopping in less than 6 feet. Now I know that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you're, 260 pounds and, that 260 pounds coming to a stop in 6 feet downhill is enormously impressive. Very responsive, very good modulation, very good feel all around. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for some bitchin' brakes for under $50, just get these. Just do it. So I'm almost out of sunlight here. This has been my kind of first day to get out and do stuff on the bike. It's still about 40 degrees and you can see there's some snow on the ground. We actually had that down all weekend, but I digress. I want to talk about a little bit these brakes that are awesome and do what they're supposed to do. There's probably crap in my beard. What is that? It's probably snot. Anyway, so those Zoom brakes, chef's kiss. Fantastic stuff. They're super responsive. They're fast. I will say I do know that I need to bleed mine. I didn't do that. I wanted to that day, but I didn't have any brake fluid. So, I had to compromise. But yeah, overall, compared to those Tektros, like I said, I could not lock those things up to save my life. And I needed them to do that every now and then. These things, they lock up perfectly. Now, of course, that's not all you're looking for, but they modulate well. They feel really good. They're super responsive. I can one finger them just fine. And, with my giant hands, I typically two finger things. But here's the thing, is they're stopping me downhill. They're stopping the weight of the bike, the weight of the me with no problem. So that's fantastic. So yeah, I will make a video where I bleed these guys. It's no different than any other brake bleed if you've ever seen them. But yeah, for under $50, get these. If you still have stock brakes on any bike that's disc brake, you've wasted your life. You will love these. But yeah, that's it. I'm done.
Oh, hi. It's Alex. I'm just, sitting here thinking about as I'm editing this video how much I'd love it if you liked and subscribed. Newt would like it too. You don't want Newt to starve, do you? Because she will. If you don't like and subscribe, I don't have any sponsors. I'm not being sponsored by NordVPN or Raycon or whoever else is sponsoring videos anymore on YouTube. I didn't even know YouTube sponsorship was a thing. I mean, it's not like that would motivate anybody to make a YouTube video or anything like that. So, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And who knows, maybe I'll make more bike-related content. I mean, I've got to, you just saw Liza. Angelica's just sitting up there, just waiting for the season to come around. So I guess it's up to you. I mean, you could let Newt starve. That's, I guess your choice. Or you could just subscribe and like and, pray for more quality content from me. I don't know. I guess it's up to you. Please don't let my cat starve. Sponsor me, Raycon!